My queen, my queen. Oh, she. Oh, she. Beautiful, wonderfully made. She's heaven's angel. So strong, even in struggle, yeah. When life comes like a storm from every angle, she rises above it all, backbone of every home. Nothing compares to all she do. The true meaning of every family. She's the glue. Is amazing. Life inside, 9 months she's carrying back to work, cause the family she's carrying. Society don't give her just due, but she prevails and stands tall. A champion, a true woman. But nothing compares to all she do. Of every family, she's the glue. Yeah, oh. Where would we be without you? Yeah, you brought us Martin, Malcolm, and Obama, and Jesus too. Oh, she is sophisticated, strong, yeah. Simply amazing, simply amazing. Humble. Not only that you are educated, yes you are. Eccentric, empowering. You're my, she's a queen. You're my, my.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of a New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Look, let me tell y'all something. You have been begging to get Lisa on here to talk, but that's a lot of work for me. But today we got her here, and I'm excited to have you, babe.
Well, I'm glad to be here. You know, it's not my favorite thing to do, but
it has to be though, because the ladies need your perspective. And I mean, I know it's not your favorite thing to do, but I think you understand.
I do. I understand the necessity or the requests being made, and I appreciate them. I really do.
Absolutely.
I really count it as a serious honor that they want to hear me.
Yeah.
And hear what I have to say. I don't take that lightly.
And they really need to hear, you know, as much as they have so much respect for me, the validating voice is yours, because at the end of the day, I'm not a woman. I'm not a queen. You know what I mean? I'm just a man that's been on a mission, but all of this stuff we teach and we share, these are your stories.
Yeah, they really are. And I'm just glad to have the opportunity to actually be able to share and to have those that value what I may want to deposit or I'm able to deposit into their lives means something to me. It really does.
Absolutely. Well, I just, you know, this is not like I have some things I've jotted down, but this is not like a pointed formal lesson kind of thing. This is more of a conversation that the ladies have been asking for us to have relative to, I titled this, Why Queens Leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharing even in our church today about how the time came when you really wanted to leave me, and wasn't cheating, wasn't keeping the money from you, wasn't disrespecting you or talking crazy to you or putting my hands on you, but yet there were some things that drove you to a point that you really thought to possibly leave.
That's true. And it kind of built up over a few years. Few years, and it wasn't just one day I woke up and decided, I think I leave. I want to leave. But before we even get started into this, I need you, because you know how you can get your feelings hurt if I say something that you've never heard before.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I need to plead the fifth.
My feelings ain't hurt. I don't get my feelings hurt.
On one podcast, you kind of got shocked. Huh?
You just want to keep going back to dear future wifey. That was Laterra's being messy like that. That pulled all that.
Oh, that's lovely. But back to our topic. Seriously, there was a time, and I recall going through a few years of just feeling, and I think I encapsulated it as feeling insignificant in your life. You didn't cheat, you provided well, you did all of those things that most women desire in a husband, and I was grateful for that. But that one part that I really needed, I wasn't getting. And that was just feeling like I was significant in your life. I knew that I played a role. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was a good wife. I knew I was a good mother. I knew all of that. So I knew you valued me. It wasn't that I didn't know you valued me. It's just I didn't feel like I was significant. You spent a lot of time with church and ministry.
Yeah.
And church folks and ministry. And I think in your defense, what I desired was that part of your life that you were most engrossed in, that part of your life that was your purpose. I wanted to be tied into that purpose. I was helping you behind the scenes and all of those good things, and that was fine for me to be behind the scenes. I still love to be behind the scenes. But in your eyes, I needed to feel like, oh, you're a significant part of this. And I didn't feel like that at that time. And so because of that, I felt like, well, I just don't need to be here.
Yeah. And it really goes back to, and this is really for couples tonight, as well as, for ladies, but it really goes back to what we're starting to teach in New Home Church. I started today this series I'm entitling People Skills,
Right.
where I'm really dealing with emotional intelligence. And when I hear you now, on this side of certain levels of maturity, it's almost like I don't understand why I couldn't get that earlier, and it goes back to the lack of emotional intelligence, because, you bought into the family vision.
Yeah.
And to the point that you put your own career,
Correct.
aside to have and to raise our children. And me, from a man's perspective, and a man that was pretty much conditioned with misogynistic
Yes.
kind of values.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I just couldn't see beyond that limited lens of toxic masculinity to perceive that you could have had needs other than me being faithful, me providing, me not being an abusive husband, at least not physically or verbally, but at the same time through ignorance kind of being emotionally abusive, not reading the room, as I put it, in terms of the woman I married.
Right.
There are a lot of women that would be, and I think it all boils down to the personality type, because what works for us is not necessarily going to be an ideal model for everybody.
No.
But knowing the type of woman you are now, not understanding that so much then, there's nothing that you put your hand to and you love and you're committed to that you don't want to be intricately involved in. That's everything from your friendships to your parenting style to your, the kind of wife you are, the kind of first lady you are. Everything you put your hands to, you're intricately involved. And so it boils down to just a lack of emotional intelligence. And I know that there are a lot of women that are listening to us today who are probably in very similar situations with men they love,
Right.
with good men
And men that they've been even married to for a long time.
for a very long time.
Yeah, I've talked to those kind of women.
Yeah. Well, of course, the whole purpose for us having this conversation is not to, go leave your man,
Correct.
But what would you say, to a woman that's in the same situation where maybe her man is just disconnecting or not connected at all on an emotional level? What would be your, just off the cuff, what would be your counsel or your advice to her?
I think the main thing is, or one of the main things, is just really communicate your heart. I think that's one of the things that kept this process for me lingering, because I didn't communicate. And the reason I didn't communicate is because I didn't know how to communicate.
Language.
to you, because I was always afraid that if I shared my heart, you would be dismissive. And at some point, you kind of did. Like, why would you feel that way?
Of course.
Your
Yeah, I did.
your response
Yeah.
was like, why would you feel that way?
I did that. I absolutely did that.
And so it's difficult, and ladies, and I know, but you have to learn and figure out how the right way to communicate and to have your partner, have your husband or your spouse or whoever your significant person is, to be able to really hear you. I had to not be emotional in trying to communicate, and that's always been one of my weaknesses, because I cry for everything, right? But I learned to get this particular message across that we're talking about today, and how I really felt and how I needed him to understand. My method of communication was to write. So that way there was no talking at that moment. He had to sit down and read my heart.
Yeah, he had to sit with it.
And then he had to process he had a chance to process what I wrote, and then your response came to me days later after you processed and you thought about it, and then you said, I read that.
Because I was an emotional hearer.
Yeah.
I would get triggered, and for me, I'm reading this book now. I don't remember the title because I just started reading it, but it's a very good book. I'll share it with you all later. But it's dealing with emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And emotional intelligence starts with a knowledge of oneself.
Yeah.
You got to sit with who you are, where your triggers are, why your triggers are, and how you impose certain things on your surroundings because of stuff you've not dealt with. I was an emotional hero. So everything for me was, okay, she's disrespecting me. She's trying to take over. She's trying to wear the pants, And so, yeah, I absolutely did do that. I would be dismissive, because I was like, what more can you, and I think this speaks to the men out there, what more can you want?
Exactly.
I ain't cheating. You ain't got nobody calling the house. I'm bringing my money home. I'm faithful. What more can you want?
Yeah.
And there is more that women need.
There is more, and there absolutely is more. And I think it boils back down to the two becoming one, and that partnership, that sense of I'm really your partner in every area of life. We're walking this thing out together, which we are now.
Yeah.
We've grown to. But at that time, it wasn't that kind of party. And for me, one of the things, you met so many needs, you fit so many bills as far as a husband goes and a man in my life, because everybody knows my story. The man thing wasn't for me because I was abused and all of that, right? So the trust for men wasn't there, and you came in and you gave me that trust. But the one thing that I needed was to really have that sense of belonging that wasn't a negative sense of belonging. Does that make sense?
Unpack it for us.
So in a lot of relationships, you might feel like you really belong to that person, but that you're present in their lives, you belong to him, but it's more of the needs that you meet.
Correct. Transactional.
It's transactional. It's the needs that you meet. You're the wife, you're the mother, you're cook, you clean, you do all those great things and all of that thing. So you belong to him in that manner. The sense of belonging goes further than just meeting the needs. It goes to the emotional connection. It goes to really feeling like we're really one. Like I think like you, I walk, I talk like you.
Correct.
And we've grown to that point, but at that time.
Correct. Well, that speaks to, and we've never really had this conversation. Mm-hmm. It's our first time really having a full conversation about it. But that speaks to I had to grow to trust you.
Right.
I had never really trusted a woman, because the way we're conditioned, the way the world conditions men is guard your heart, go so far, don't go any further. And by all means, you don't let a woman into all aspects of who you are.
Right.
Because if she pans out to not be, the longevity is not there. If it doesn't last, you can always get over it and move on to the next one. And so though I knew I loved you, though I knew God told me you were my wife, I was still evolving and growing as a man. And it took me all of that time, all of those experiences to grow to a point where I trusted you, you know, with my life, with my work, like you say, not just to be there to meet the needs, not just to be there to be the one that the public sees, but not only to be the one that was needed, but the one that was wanted in all aspects and trusted. And I knew that we had grown when we got to a point where, I had grown to a point where I could let you into certain things, and maybe you didn't do it the way I would have liked it done. And we could have a conversation about it without me going over the top and it turning into a 3 or 4 day fiasco.
Right.
We could have a conversation about it and then just pivot, and we kept moving.
Yeah.
But so many women, let me see if I can jot this down, because the reason I really wanted to have this conversation with you is because, again, it speaks to something the guy's talking about in his book relative to emotional intelligence. When a woman is queen conscious and she knows who she is, she's self-aware, she's self-managed, she then demands the world to recognize her identity. And when I look back on, you know, that experience of you really challenging me to grow up emotionally and to be your man, not just financially, not just sexually, not just on paper or in public view, but to be your man emotionally. And for you to come to the point where you say, okay, well, I'm about to leave you. I had a real serious thought about that in preparation for this conversation. When a woman in particularly, but it goes both ways, but I'll just specify it to the woman. When a woman is in a relationship, no matter how great it may seem, that she cannot walk away from it, it is now a soul tie.
Wow.
Because if you can't, even 29 years going on 30 years deep, if you can't see walking away from me, or I can't see walking away from you, it means that it has now turned into a soul tie. Because the only one we can't walk away from, the only one we should value to a point that we cannot see ourselves living without is God.
Is God.
Now, absolutely, I don't want to live without you.
Correct.
But can I? I can. It'll be hard, but I can. Can you? You can. And so that said to me, looking back on it now in retrospect, that your love relationship was in proper order. As much as you adored and loved me, was clear to me, you even at that point, all of that investment, all of those years, you were like, well, if I'm not being valued like I'm supposed to be valued, not just financially, not just in public view, but emotionally, I think I'd rather do without this.
And it's amazing how that even came into my life, because I was never that person that, you know, felt like I needed all of that, you know? But when God created us, he created us on purpose with certain things that we need, certain things that need to be fulfilled in our lives. And as you grow, you kind of discover your own particular needs. One of the things that you touched on in this conversation is you were saying that how men don't. You're traditionally brought up kind of misogynistically, right?
Absolutely, we are.
And I wonder about that, because when you go back to the word, we came out of you.
Correct.
So what causes something like that, you know?
Sin. When you look back at Genesis,
Yeah.
okay, since we're biblical people,
Yeah.
I know everybody's not, but
Right.
the Bible is our document. You can look back at Genesis. When God created Adam, he made him so whole that the Bible says, you can believe it literally or figuratively, but it's a layout for how to do relationships. The Bible says that God reached into his side, put him to sleep, reached into his side, pulled out Eve. He was so whole, he contained his woman. The first words Adam speaks to Eve are affirmative, empowering,
Yes.
celebratory.
Yes.
He's celebrating. Oh, you came out of me. He's
Whoa.
validating her.
Yeah.
But after
The fall.
sin, after the fall, the first thing Adam did was throw her under the bus.
Yeah.
The woman you gave me. It's because the full-time job of broken masculinity is to dismantle healthy womanhood. That's one of my whys. That's why I do what I do relative to queenology.
Yeah.
It's because I see a
An assignment.
toxic masculine culture that
Yeah.
intentionally dismantles the self-esteem and the dignity of womanhood every day.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm diligent about sitting here. That's why I talk directly to women most of the time. It's because when a man becomes healthy, it's his natural reaction to defend, protect, promote healthy womanhood.
Absolutely.
And so that's where all of that comes from.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes more sense. Because that is something that I think a lot of women wonder about. Like, why would you just continue to beat down any woman? Like,
Correct.
why would that be? And so that brings a lot of clarity to know that it's the fall that caused all of that, and sin that caused all of that.
And then culture.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
You think about how many spaces or places do we see in the world where men are really taught to be men? I was just on a podcast and I made a simple statement.
Yeah,
The simple statement was every man that, desires to be a husband and have a wife should have a mind to be 100% provider.
yeah,
Not necessarily the capacity.
right.
I didn't have 100%
Capacity.
provider capacity when
Correct.
we got married,
Correct.
but I had the mindset.
Correct.
Oh my God, I had to just disconnect myself from the feed because they were saying so many crazy things. It's the culture. Where do we go to get men to see the full length and breadth of what manhood entails and what it means to be responsible, the caretaker of the soul of a woman? Not a lot of places. So most of our men are indoctrinated poorly.
Right.
Like I was. I was indoctrinated poorly, but for the latter example of my father and my mother, my father provided an amazing example of what it meant to be a man, what it meant to be a husband. But I wasn't really spending like a lot of one-on-one time with my dad.
Right.
The people I was having conversations with, they were on the other side of the fence. They was talking about how to be a player, pimping, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I learned all of that stuff. And so a boy takes that stuff in takes it in like a sponge. And then even when he grows up and God matures him and he sees the right direction, it takes a minute for all of that stuff to be purged out of his system.
Absolutely. And I think it goes back again to Genesis, where, the devil, the enemy, has always tried to separate the man from God. Once he's got the man from God, then everything else can fall apart.
Correct.
Easily fall apart. And so our generations after generation, it just continues to, like you said, it was a cycle in your family.
Correct.
It was a continuous cycle in your family where you're indoctrinated with certain things that just stuck with you. And at some point, there has to be a realization and an awakening that you have with Holy Spirit that says, this is not what God wants
Correct.
for me. This is not
Correct.
God's best for my life. This is not the direction. This is not what he created me to do.
Correct.
And I think that's where we have to, you're doing well as we empower the ladies. But with the men now, it's going to have to become an awakening for men.
Correct.
As women are now taking their place as queens and wearing their crowns and embracing who they are after being beaten down for generations after generation, now they're empowered. So now we have to bring the man up to that place where he can learn how to really appreciate, love, respect, and make those women feel the sense of belonging,
Affirmation.
the affirmation that they need to hear that from the men now, and not feel like. And I think one of the things is that even when we go back to Genesis, Adam said, "This is the woman you gave me," and so I think that becomes a thing in the man's mind that, is the woman really for me or against me?
Correct. There's this war now.
Yeah.
You know, and again, culture has bred that, and you say it so well. It's time for the men to rise.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I would say to every woman, going back to my point, you were whole enough.
Mm-hmm.
You were whole enough the first time that when I said to you as a young man, I don't think I want to be married, you need to move on. You were whole enough to move on in spite of the fact that you love me.
Yeah.
Right? So then I get myself together, and thankfully you're still available, and I come back and say, well, yeah, you know, I feel like you're my wife. You said, okay, I'll rock out with that. And then we're married, and you're not getting what you need from the relationship, and you're whole enough to say, I'll walk away from this. That wasn't arrogance. That wasn't trying to throw your family away, you know, but that was you saying, you know, I paid for this much.
Right.
Please give me what I purchased,
Right.
you know, for lack of a
Right.
more sophisticated way of
Absolutely.
saying it. When we marry someone, there are expectations that we have. And my point today is that I want women to understand that you have to communicate all of your needs.
That's
Now,
right.
you said, for me, you found it best to write letters.
Right.
And I remember you writing those letters. And boy, I used to say, oh my God, I got a letter. Oh, Jesus, what is this letter? What is this letter? What is this? Because that was Holy Spirit that really gave you that approach, because I had to sit with it.
And I had to communicate without being emotional, because if I'm talking, I'm just crying and you're not hearing me.
Nothing.
So that was absolutely Holy Spirit giving me that unction to do that. And I shared that with some women. You know, find a way that you're not in your emotions and you can communicate clearly. And you might have to write and rewrite so that you read it and say, okay, now am I communicating it in the way that he can receive it? And that's one of the things that was so important, that is so important, rather, for women in relationships to feel significant, is to be able to communicate that need. Communicate what it is that you really, really need.
Now, here's some things that I just kind of looked, you know, just to see what are some of the things that a woman means when she says, because, you know, you may not have used this exact language. You're not hearing me, or you're not seeing me, you know, but we hear women say that a lot. You know, I'm in the house talking in church today, actually on Sunday, about, you know, how people can be present and absent at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so many women are with men that are good guys on paper, on the surface, but they're lacking this, and they're suffering, and they feel, I think a lot of women even feel guilty for feeling like they have a need that's not met.
Right.
And society makes a
When
woman.
when you have a good husband or a good mate,
Yeah.
you feel guilty. You do. Like you're feeling like, why am I feeling like why would I complain about something? Why would I complain about something when I have all of this? I'm well provided for. I'm loved. He's not cheating. Why am I finding a reason to complain?
Yeah.
Because there is still a need that's unmet.
Well, I think for the woman, and I'll get to these 5 things when we kind of unpack this, but I think for the woman, and this is good for brothers to hear and women as well,
yeah.
but brothers need to hear this. I think for the woman, the emotional connection is the oxygen of the relationship.
Yes, that's
You know
good.
what I mean? I think if a woman is going to be sexually moved
Absolutely.
towards her husband, there has to be an emotional connection. If a woman is going to be motivated to make all of the sacrifices that are necessary to make a family work, there has to be an emotional connection. So it would be like waking up tomorrow and the world saying, okay, well, here's food for you, here's water for you, here's shelter for you, but I'm going to remove the oxygen.
Yeah.
You can't survive. And there are women who are deprived emotionally and they're struggling, but they feel bad about saying, I just need a little oxygen.
It's like these men, like we were watching a particular show, Cheaters, I think, and the lady was out cheating on her husband, and he was trying to figure out what happened, why would you do such a thing? I give you everything that you need and all of that. And she was saying, but you're not here. Now, she was talking about being physically there, which is kind of foolish, but as we're using this in context, being emotionally there is like you said, it's like oxygen. It fuels everything that we do as women, just to be able to be heard, to have you be present. To be present. It means so much, and it gives us so much energy, I think. The energy in everything shifts when you feel that.
Well, here's this little list that I got here. What does it mean? What does a woman mean when she tells a man that he does not see her, or she needs him to see her? Number one, we kind of unpacked it. She needs an emotional connection. She may be expressing a need for deeper emotional understanding and connection in their relationship. Well, we kind of unpacked that. Number two, it says acknowledgement.
Oh, yeah.
Acknowledgement.
Oh, yeah. Which I didn't have that lack so much, because you've always been one to acknowledge what I did. So, and appreciate and acknowledge what I did. So that I didn't really have that issue with you. But I know that there are a lot of women that are constantly, and I tell people all the time, I spoil you and you spoil me, and I serve you your meals.
You do.
And every time
That's what
I've
I tell
served
them.
you in 30 years, there's never been a time that you've never said thank you. Never been a time. You've always said thank you every time. And I'm thinking the first few times I was like, why are you thanking me? This is what I'm supposed to do. Like, why would you thank me? But that over the years has resonated so much to me that I realized that I needed that.
Correct. A healthy relationship is a grateful connection,
Yeah.
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 And we do that to one another.
Yeah.
You're extremely grateful. Now, I think I'm probably more over the top, but, whereas you're more just grateful. You're just grateful. You're grateful for everything. But when it comes down to me expressing my gratitude for you or acknowledging what you do, it goes back to the way I was raised. It goes back to the profound impact that you've made on my life as a woman. The way I see women, I've never had a woman that goes as far as you go, but then it goes deeper for me. It goes to understanding your background and my process in your healing.
Yeah.
That's why I really try to be over the top as it relates to acknowledging certain things, that are valuable about you and our connection. I saw it as my participation in your healing.
Absolutely. It has been. And I think, like you were saying, you might be like over the top. And I think gratitude is expressed differently.
Differently.
Whereas you are very verbal and in showing your gratitude or expressing your gratitude rather. I do more.
You do more.
That's my way of saying
Precisely.
I really appreciate what you do. So I'm doing more. I want to do more. I want to buy something else for you or whatever it is. That's my way of showing my gratitude more than saying it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And going back to the emotional intelligence piece, it goes back to the different experiences. I think it goes back to the different experiences we had in terms of how we were raised or how we
Yeah.
grew up as children.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I grew up in a very safe place, whereas you grew up in the exact total opposite of that.
Right.
And so for me, I was always safe to use language. You know what I mean? I was free as a child. I kind of had a similar childhood to our children.
Yeah.
Very safe, very comfortable, very functional, very laid back. And so, like all our children are very vocal.
Oh, very.
They say whatever,
Yes.
because they're free. Whereas, you came out of a different experience.
Right.
And it's just a miracle that you even escaped that in your right mind. But that's a lesson in itself, that we have different language to communicate gratitude or acknowledgement, which
Right.
is the point.
Right. Absolutely.
So there are a lot of women that don't feel acknowledged. And I think in a lot of cases, this toxic culture has diminished in the minds of men, the true, what's the words I'm looking for? The true sacrifice it takes for a woman to be a wife, a mother, a man's woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And this is why we have these arguments about 50-50. So are you going to have 50% of the child?
Exactly.
I made the child. Well, that's the fun part. Are you going to bear 50% of the pain?
Right.
Are you going to do 50% of the nurturing?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because, just to be quite honest about it, I have the greatest respect in the world for womanhood. I say it all the time, and I don't take it back. As much as I love our four kids, if God said, okay, we're going to reverse the clock, and we got to go back, and we're going to change this thing, well, you got to have them for them to be here. As
They're
much
not
as I
gonna be.
love all of them, none of them will get here.
None of them.
If I got to go back and have you, there's
None
no
of
way in the world. But I think society has diminished in the minds of modern men the true nature of the sacrifice that it takes for a good woman to be a good woman.
Yeah.
And so the acknowledgement piece of everything women do in families or in relationships quite often is lacking. And there are a lot of women right now that are probably sitting there crying because there's no acknowledgement for what she
they
does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, even just to add to that, I have to come to the men's rescue a little bit, because oftentimes we want more than is really necessary. In other words, you see what's going on across the fence, and so you're thinking, well, RC does that for Lisa, so they should do that for me. But everybody's situation is different.
Everybody's different.
And so you have to assess exactly what it is in your situation and be grateful for that. So he may just thank you because you cleaned the house today, or he may acknowledge that today. Be grateful for that. It doesn't have to be, something over the top.
Correct.
All the time.
Correct. Now let me see. Going back to our list. It says when she says that she needs to be seen, it could mean that she needs attention. She may desire more attention and active engagement from her man in their interactions and conversations.
And that's true. And so I have to, again, give you your props for that, because I remember after giving birth to Rachel, I was running myself ragged. Like I was cooking, cleaning, taking care of her, and she
Everything.
was a very sickly baby. So it was just, I was literally fading away. And you were like, no, this can't happen. Like you have to stop to take care of yourself. And that's one of the things that you've always pushed. Even though you need me to do certain things and you appreciate the things that I do, you've always pushed me to tell me to take care of myself. And the thing that you always emphasize is you can't be of any use to us
Correct.
if you run yourself into the ground.
You're
And
the
it's-
MVP.
Yeah, and it's taken a lot of years to get to this point where I understand that, but you've always been that person to give that to me.
Well, and that's, of course, that's been because I love you, but it's of a selfish nature at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are, and I think more men need to realize that, when you have a great woman, you have a great wife and a great mother, that's kind of like irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And so the greatest thing you can do for our family is to take care of you.
But your attention to that is
Yeah.
being attentive is, I think, is what we were discussing here. Your attention to the fact that I needed to do something for myself or take care of myself. Your attention to me
Yeah.
in that manner makes a difference. It's actually gives me more energy just to hear you say, you need to take a break. You need to go relax. Go sit down somewhere. It gives me more energy. It actually
Well,
fuels me.
you act like you'd be mad with me, though.
Yeah, because I know I have so much to do. But so I'm thinking, okay, I have so much to do, and I'm doing it for you. Why are you telling me go sit out? But then I understand.
Doing is your gratitude language, right?
Exactly. It is.
See, I never knew that.
It is. It
Doing
is.
is your gratitude language.
Yes. Like, do you see, like, girl, this man is spending hours and hours in these studios and working and doing all of this stuff. You got to get this other stuff done. Like, get it done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, they again, they want to talk about the high value man and the high value woman. We a high value couple.
Absolutely.
I came when I came and got you and asked you to marry me. I had a vision, a dream, a work ethic. All I needed was a woman that would come alongside me and help me put it together.
Give birth to it.
Give birth to it.
Give birth to it.
And you put you and I together, we coming out of anything on top
Absolutely.
and going higher.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way God designed the system. Now, another thing, and I know we're almost there. Another thing on this list says that she may be seeking to be understood and accepted for who she truly is beyond surface level impressions. Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah.
This one says authenticity. When a woman says, I need to be seen, she's really asking for permission, really, to be her authentic self inside of the relationship and not just the surface, impression.
Absolutely. And I guess I can go back to our early years as well with that, because one of the things I appreciate you, and I don't think I would have been able to go very far in this marriage if this part wasn't permitted for me to be my authentic self, because traditionally the pastor's wife is sitting on the second or whatever row they sit on with their hat, and
Correct.
and you knew that I was not that person. You knew that I could not be that person, and that would have killed me to be that person. So you allowed me to be my authentic self. Of course, yeah, there were times where you had to kind of tweak that a little bit because I will do the most.
Yeah, I have to protect you.
And exactly. And and again, run myself in the ground, just trying to be my authentic self. That's who I am. I just love to serve. I love to help. And so you allowed that to be. You allowed me to get on the ground and be with the people and not be on this seat wearing this hat, even though you bought me lots of hats too. But
I did. But you soon showed me that I was wasting my money. Oh my God, we got so many hats just stuffed in.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Any of you church ladies out there need hats? We
I
got
gave them away.
We got. Oh, you gave them? Oh my
Gave them
God.
away.
She done gave the hats away. All that money on those hats. I was trying to make me a good little missionary Baptist church wife. But there's so many women out there who are in relationships where they cannot be authentically themselves.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in any situation that mirrors any of this stuff we're talking about, you have to do what Lisa said in the earlier part of this conversation. You have to find your way of communicating. But by all means, you cannot bottle this up
I cannot.
and just think, well, I'm living in this kind of house, I'm driving this kind of car, and I'm vacationing here.
No, ma'am.
The Bible puts it very directly. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world? Let's change that. What does it profit a woman to gain the whole world
And lose her
and
mind.
lose her soul? Soul means your mind,
Lose their mind.
your will, your emotion, to lose your internal self for external, gratification or whatever. What does that profit you? You have to find a way to communicate. Now, I'll say to women that are vetting men,
Right.
you know what I mean? That some of these things that we're discussing now are the things you really need to be looking at, rather than if he's 6 feet tall
That's right.
or if he makes six figures.
That's right. Get ahead of the game now, because that saves you a lot of the emotional distress later. Once you get in, it's harder to have, like I said, to try to figure out, how am I going to communicate this to this person that does not know, just really is ignorant to how I feel, or what's missing from me, or what's missing from the relationship. It's harder then. So if you're vetting somebody, or you're in a relationship, you're just getting to know somebody, this is a good time for you to be able to communicate all of the things that's needed, all of the emotional needs that you have, all of the things. Are you able to be your authentic self? Do you have to wear hats everywhere? Do you have to dress a certain way that you're not comfortable Get to the bottom of all of that before you get too deep into the relationship.
And then the final point that's on this list, Lee, is when a woman says to a man, I need you to hear me, I need you to see me. Quite often it's a cry for empathy. She's asking for more empathy and compassion from him in understanding her emotions and experiences.
Yeah. And again, going back to us, you realized what you didn't just tell me, you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself, but you took the initiative. Every year, I got a week off, and you took the children.
Yeah.
Every year, it was my time, whether I went on a vacation or if I was just at home, and he took the children away from me for a whole week, every spring break, just so that, because he empathized with the kind of load as a mother, the constant back and forth to school, the constant, all the stuff I had to,
homework,
everything that I had to do as a mother. He wasn't in that role. So at that moment, he was
children never would have
empathizing.
graduated.
But you did go to all the plays and stuff
I did
grudgingly,
that, but if
and
they
the
had
choir
left homework
shows.
to me, them children never would have graduated.
Oh yeah, those projects at midnight and all of that while you were sleeping. But you gave me the grace. You gave me the time to do that with them, and you also redeemed some of that time by giving me that break every year.
Yeah, you would go on, Lisa would go on. This is why you got to marry, ladies. You got to marry a grown man.
Oh my.
You can't marry a man that's so insecure. You can't be out of his sight. Lisa would go to Florida,
On the beach.
lay out on the beach. She was wearing bikinis back then.
Back then.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lisa,
I'm getting back to it too.
Lisa would go on cruise by herself.
Yep.
And her hubby had no problem with it
None.
because I knew who I was. You know, you got to marry a grown man. But back to the main point, there are women that are begging for us as men to just empathize. You know, just empathize. Just admit that it's much easier. It's not easy to be the breadwinner, to go out and earn. But I promise you, I'd rather be the breadwinner than have to be dealing with them children. You know, she left. Remember, you left me home for a couple of hours with Rachel or somebody.
Oh.
Man, I said, my God.
Oh, my.
Whole different respect for womanhood. I'd give me the breadwinner role any day than the mama, because you know, being a wife, in my opinion, that's just that's a lifelong mamahood situation right there. Taking care of husband is just like taking care of your children, really. Just a child that hopefully can bring some money to the table.
It's another child.
So we're just about done, Lee. But I got to ask this question since I got you here. And I want you to answer it. Maybe I need to step out of the room for this.
No.
But everybody wants to know, all the ladies want to know, back to our story. When I said to you, I don't think I want to be married, you need to move on, you said, okay. Everybody want to know, how did you, someone say, I ain't never heard her talk about it. You have talked about it. They want to know, how did you say, okay, and move on, and yet you say that you still love, you had great love for me. How did you do it? Move on to the point that you actually got your new boyfriend and all. They won't know how you did all that.
Well, you know, you when you communicated, you always make it sound so easy. And the truth is, it was not easy at all.
Well, it was okay. You said okay.
It was okay, but it was not easy.
It seemed easy to me.
So ladies, it wasn't easy. So I empathize with
Fix
you.
my boat.
I have a great empathy for all of you that have and are going through those kind of situations, because I get your emails and you're saying, you know, how do I just move on? Well, this is what I say. This is what I say, and this is what I did. I had to really bury myself in what my purpose was at that time. I had to really focus and bury myself in the things that I needed to do. And at that time, I was actually in nursing school. So I had to throw myself into all of my studies, all of school. I buried myself in that, and I kept one day at a time, one day at a time. And I had to fight the urge to stalk. I had to fight the urge to not do drive-bys by his house. I had to fight the urge to
Wasn't nobody there?
It was pagers at the time. I had to fight the urge to do text messages and what you doing, and I had to fight all of those urges to call, and I was just like that. And now it's even worse because I know the ladies are stalking. They're all on the social
See
media.
everything.
So they're looking at their ex and seeing what they're doing and who they might be with. And you have to fight that urge because there's so much more in you that you need to be focused on. And so during that time, if that man is meant for you, he will come back to you. You see that? But during that time, I buried myself in purpose and what I needed to do at that time. And that was my school. And then I buried myself also in my relationship with God. I started to really, because during that time, it was like, I felt like that moment really felt like my whole world was crumbling because I was actually struggling in school at that moment. And I thought, this nursing stuff is just not for me. This is not what you want for me, God. I don't want this. And I was crying a lot. So I was crying out to God that this nursing school wasn't for me. And then he says, I don't want to get married. You move on. I'm like, okay, really, my whole world is crumbling because I was young. You know, I'm like, this is the end of the world for me now. School isn't going well. The man that I'm in love with says he doesn't want to marry me. And it just felt like, wow, like I'm just not going to get anywhere. This is going to be it for me. And I remember one particular night I was trying to study and I was thinking about him. And I was really, really just started crying again. I was crying a lot, just like you all are. I had all of that. I was crying a lot, but nobody knew outside of my room. My mom kind of knew a little bit, but I kept everything very, very private. And that's what you have to do too. Keep everything private. You don't need to call everybody and tell them, oh, he broke my heart and all of that. Just keep it private, because you just never know what God is doing with him. And I was crying out to God, and I said, this is not for me. No school. I'm just tired. I don't want anything. I just don't want anything. I just want to it's over with. Right. And that's how I really felt. And I remember being in my bed, and had my nursing books in my lap, and I had my Bible on the side of my bed. And I threw my books down, and I said, what do you want me to do? And I opened up my Bible, and it opened up to Matthew 6:33. And that's been my ground scripture ever since that night. That has been my scripture. And it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you. And I promise you, I would not sit here and lie to you. I said, God, I would love to do that, but I don't know how, because I was young. I'm like, what you mean by seek you? I go to church. And long story short, I said, I will seek you, but you have to help me. And he really did.
Wow.
There's some things that happened, sequence of things, and we don't have time to go through that, but some sequence of things that happened that he helped me to really focus and seek him first. And as I sought him first, I promise you, things started to fall into place. A peace started coming over me. The feeling of him being gone started to lift. That heaviness started to lift. That depression, that sadness started to lift. And of course, then the baseball player came at that moment, at that time. But it was a little while before the baseball player could even get a phone number, right?
I couldn't tell.
You didn't know no timeline.
I couldn't tell.
And so, but that all happened, and I finished school, I graduated, passed my boards and all of that. And all within probably a year and a half, this all happened. And he called me and told me, God said, you're my wife. But I put myself in a position where I really trusted God for his word. He said, seek me. I followed his direction and what I needed to do, and buried myself in my purpose, and fought off the urges to do the silly things, because those really are silly things, ladies. You don't need to stalk the man. If he says he doesn't want you,
leave him alone.
Move on. Because what you're seeing, what you're going on Facebook and seeing he's with somebody else, how is that helping you? But that's for another day. So those are the things that I did to kind of just be able to process that.
I forget the exact wording Holy Spirit gave to me, but recently I made a posting on Instagram that, when you marry your purpose, you'll never be disappointed by desires.
That's right. That's right.
See, I was a desire.
That's right.
But God's purpose for you was a mandate.
Yeah.
And when you marry purpose,
absolutely, that's really good.
You'll never be broken by desires, And so when you marry purpose, God will give you the desires of your heart. But if you divorce purpose, desires will destroy you.
Yeah.
And so I think that this was a great conversation tonight, Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Since you're here, what are we doing in August?
Okay, so yes, Queens. I'm looking for you in August in Atlanta. Queenology 2024, August the 23rd through the 25th. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Listen, we had a great, great time in New Orleans with all of the queens that came from everywhere, from all over the world.
Yeah.
As far as the Netherlands, I think
everywhere.
we had people from the Netherlands. It was just an amazing time, and they're planning already to meet us in Atlanta. So I'm excited about it. I know that we're going to have an amazing time. We have some different things planned this year for our queens this year. Yes, you've talked about how it's going to be a coronation, and yes, indeed, we'll do that again. We'll have our pillow talk or our girl talk time that we will have just you and I, and the men will probably have some time.
Yeah,
that we're going to set aside for them.
We're going long tonight, but we're going to have a panel of men,
right?
and they're going to answer during the Saturday intensive and brunch. They're going to sit there, and queens will be able to ask them questions. They're going to answer questions that women have always wanted to ask men. But if I get enough male participation, and we may actually create something on the website, the registration part, where when you ladies are doing your pillow talk, I can have, a private meeting with a intimate group of men.
That's right.
Because now the vision is to merge queenology and kingology in terms of, the message,
Right.
And raising up, as you said earlier, a righteous, healthy generation of men. Because there are men out there that subscribe to the biblical brand of manhood.
Right.
And so I believe if you and I working together as a king and queen and king, we can empower the women and the men
together. That's right.
Now we can begin to do our small part with healing a fractured society.
And creating more power couples.
Absolutely.
More kingdom couples. And I think that this is a good time, ladies, for those of you that have some issues in relationships that you have that's going on, and you need a male voice. I know you're always on here when you're typing in the comments, you need to tell this to the men. We hear you. So this is a good time for you to invite them to come and be a part of Queenology 2024, because it's going to be a time where he can set aside and he can really impart and take and speak into their lives and show them how to be that king that they're called to be. So that's a good thing for you to plan.
Well, now listen, we way over time, but this is a conversation I had to take advantage of. I want you to go to the website, rcblakes.com, sign up for the mailing list, check out all of the online programs, especially look at the Mordecai Mission. Mm-hmm. Those of you ladies that, you're working your way through some inner healing. You're trying to figure out who you are in terms of self-discovery, and you're trying to figure out where you're going in terms of self-development. I want you to go and check out the Mordecai Mission while you're there. Also, BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. If you need counseling, we're not counselors, and we've partnered with BetterHelp, and that information, the link is in the bio.
In the description.
Yeah. And so you can get counseling through them, and if you get counseling with them, they will give you a discount, and they will also give back to the ministry.
Amen.
When you use them.
And we thank God for all of you that have sown into our lives
Absolutely.
tonight. Lisa and I, we love you so much. Don't forget to support by going to Amazon, picking up all of our books while you're there. Anything else, Lee?
Okay, so queenology.net is your place to register for Queenology. And hey, we still have some space open for Egypt if you want to come and join us. Egypt trip is still in full gear. We are going. It's safe where we're going, and we're going to have a great, great time. And we would love for you to be there on that trip with us this year. So if you want to do that, you can go to rcblakes.com. There are 2 different times that we'll be going. We're going to be gone for a little while because we will be at both groups. So whatever date fits you, we would love to see you there. Go to rcblakes.com and sign up.
Well, it's been an absolute, let me see if I can manage this, Lee. It's been an absolute amazing experience.
Thank you, sir.
To have had you with me today. I'm just trying to make sure my little music is coming through. It's been an amazing experience. I think the ladies were tremendously blessed. And you think we can get you back to talk a little more about some other things?
Yeah.
All right. Y'all pray about that. If you enjoyed this conversation and you want Lee to come back and do more, I want you to just light up the comments. Just let her know.
I love y'all.
That this was impactful.
I love y'all.
Let her know that this was impactful. Well, we love you. You're on top. You're going higher. God has more in store for you. So
we'll see you at the top.
We will see you at the top. God bless you. Until next time.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.
Hello, family. This is RC Blakes, and I am so thoroughly excited. I'm excited because Queenology 2024 is coming back to Atlanta, Georgia, August the 23rd through the 25th. The host hotel is going to be the Whitley Hotel. Amazing. Women are literally coming from around the world. It is a multicultural, multi-generational, multiracial movement of women from around the world. And I want to invite you and yours to meet Lisa and I in Atlanta, Georgia at the Whitley Hotel, August the 23rd through the 25th for Queenology. For those that have the Royal Court package, it will afford you your entire stay for the weekend. It will also afford you a private, formal dinner with Lisa and I to open Queenology up. It also affords you admission to every event, everything that's happening for the entire weekend. Now, we also have the Saturday brunch and intensive package, which allows you to get into the brunch where Lisa and I will be sharing the messages that God has given us for 2024 to share with the ladies. This year, I'll have my own message, and Lisa will also have her very own message. It's going to be powerful. During the Saturday brunch and intensive, we're also going to have a very distinguished panel of men that are going to sit before the queens and answer the questions that women have always wanted to ask men. It's going to be amazing. Now, also those that are part of the VIP experience, there will be a time where Lisa and the ladies will gather in what they call, I think, the pajama party. And it will be a time where women will have conversation among women. I'm really excited about the culmination of Queenology this year because none other than the incomparable Dave Hollister is coming to be a part of our closing event, the all-white party. He's going to sing the Queenology theme song as well as entertain the ladies, the queens, for that evening. Queenology 2024 promises to be like none other. Those of you that want information, if you desire to be a vendor, queenology.net. Those of you that may need payment plans, queenology.net. Let nothing stop you from making your way to Queenology 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia this year. Tickets are going very quickly. I would love for you to meet us in Atlanta, August the 23rd through the 25th. Queens from around the world are coming. Queens from around the world are rising. It is going to be a coronation. It is going to be a crowning.